Here's a disturbing story. Is there a serial killer on the loose in Meyerton, that's south of Gauteng? We may not yet have the answer to that yet, but 5 women have all been murdered in the same way, at the same place, and police are now concerned. ENCA's Govan Whittles joins me now with more details on that particular story. So this is disturbing, Govan. The first time there was kind of speculation that I was aware of the possibility of a serial killer. A 27-year-old woman had been found dead around June, and then in October, a 16-year-old. What have you heard from what you've been doing, the work that you've been doing out there?
Yeah, so it's exactly because of the death of this 16-year-old Zweleka Ngwenyina, and she had died just last month. After her death, she had actually triggered the police batching together the cases of people that had been murdered in the area. And because of that, they've referred it to the provincial division of the police, and so the acting police commissioner in Gauteng is taking over the investigation. And because of that, they think that there may be a serial killer in the area. The police are careful not to confirm it, though, and that's because they don't have any evidence.
In fact, Govan, we do have your video clips from your interviews ready, so take us through some of those interviews that you have done.
Right, so the first one is from the mayor of the Midvaal area, Mr. Bongani Baloyi, and I spoke to him this morning. He's the one that's raising the alarm about a possible serial killer in the area, and he's done this because there haven't been any arrests since July last year when the first killing happened, but there's also no identity kit and no suspects since in a year's time. But I spoke to the mayor this morning about when these killings happened and how they're happening, and he explained to me that each time there's a murder of these young women that have been methodically killed, stabbed with a screwdriver, also raped, and then dumped in a nearby veld. That's the pattern that's emerged. He says that every time that's happened, there's been a service delivery protest attached to it. But let's have a listen to what the mayor said.
For us, it is suggested that it's normally linked to when there's protests around the area, which probably creates the ideal environment for a perpetrator to get in and out and to further their ends the way they want without being identified. So they're probably identifying what appears to be a fertile situation for them to further their ends. And it's deeply concerning, more so now as we celebrate, commemorating, in fact, 16 days of activism against abuse to women and children.
And of course, we have seen a lot of protests in that area, which forms part of the only municipality, well, used to be the only municipality governed by the DA in Gauteng, Govan. What are the police telling you? Because, I mean, initially the community were the ones who were saying, we are concerned here, especially around the area of Sicelo township, which is where some of the bodies have been found.
Quite right. So it's important to point out that ever since the first murder, there have been continuous police investigations into exactly how these women had been killed. In fact, in the first case, the first woman had been missing for 3 months before her body was found. And I spoke to the families of some of the people who were killed, and they had expressed their frustration with the local police. And that was something that was repeated. And so the police, the Gauteng acting police commissioner, Mr. Max Masha, has now taken control of this investigation. He told me this afternoon that this is a 24-hour operation, and their first target is to produce an identity kit. But they're not sure how they're going to do that because they also don't have any eyewitnesses. It's a tricky scenario because the police here are dealing with a situation where the bodies are usually found a long time after the people had been killed, and so stages of decomposition had already begun to set in. But let's have a look at what the acting police commissioner of Gauteng had to say about the whole scenario.
Yeah, since at the moment we don't have any eyewitness, and I must again use this opportunity to appeal to anybody who might have knowledge about the suspect to come forward and help us in identifying them. We are relying at the moment on scientific evidence at the moment, your DNA and all that stuff, so that has been done. But the unfortunate part that makes the cases difficult is that the bodies were found in a decomposed manner. So therefore it takes some time for the laboratory to examine and give us the results and check whether there are any similarities in those bodies in terms of what they find. And once we have that information, that will help us to further investigate. But I must say at this point in time, we are not able to have any DNA link at this time, but we are continuing investigations.
So I suppose we could perhaps take a bit of comfort in knowing that, South African Police Services has had experience in investigating issues to do with serial killers, right? But talk to me about the area where these bodies are found. What's it like? Locate us geographically where these incidents happen.
So this is one of the common denominators in the killings, is that the bodies always found around the same veld. And believe it or not, they're always found during the daytime. So it's not clear when this guy is dumping them. But interestingly enough, after the latest killing, the community of Sicelo and the other township called Jantin, which is basically separated by this field, they decided to gather at the spot where the last body was found, that of Zoleka, and they set fire to the field. Thereafter, they arranged a march where the entire community went to Mr. Baloy's offices, and one of their demands was for him to cut down all the trees on that field so that you could see from Sicelo over to Jantin and make sure that there's visibility at all times. So that's the current demand from the community, and they're hoping that once they do that, they'll be able to at least see when the person comes to dump the body, or see if another woman is attacked while walking through that field.
Sure.
Because it is a very, very busy field, and you have to walk quite a distance around, so you find that most women just walk through there when they're traveling between the two areas.
So speaking to the real day-to-day issues of safety that community faces that do crop up whenever we have a march in that particular area. Govan, what are the police telling you about what exactly is to happen now? Are we seeing allocation of top detectives in the province who are going to lead this investigation, coordination at a provincial level, more resources?
This is definitely something that the acting police commissioner is trying to deal with himself. He also today wanted to stress that they're on it 24/7, but not only do they have the top detectives there, they're also trying to get into the community to try and interview some of the people in the community. Because you have to remember, it's been over a year, but there's no suspect. They don't know where to begin. As you've just heard General Masha saying that they don't even have any DNA links at this point. So they're really hoping that someone from the community, someone who was with one of the women just before they had disappeared, would come forward and give some sort of information.
To try and piece together as some kind of a story.
As he said, first prize would be an identity kit, just a sketch to see what this person may look like so that they can get it out there and make some progress.
All right, thank you so much for coming through and sharing that story with us. ENCA's Govan Whittles, who's tracking that really concerning story that is coming out of Meyerton to the south of Gauteng, where there's the possibility that is being explored at this moment and investigated that there could be a serial killer. All right.